Hey Tonya, I really liked your presentation. It looked so nice and simple. Now, going to your presentation, I agree that each conflict style has its own strengths and weaknesses. For example, avoiding, accommodating, competing, compromising, and collaborating each have their own good and bad things, and they should be used in only certain situations. And it certainly helps to get to know when to use each style, because I remember, as you mentioned in your last part, about how the main key takeaway of your presentation is that relationships should be maintained nicely, and knowing when to use a certain conflict management technique really helps in that. um I then you talked about competing, which I completely agree with. It's when you stand firm and prioritize your own goals, which is kind of like dominating your position over everyone else. And it's usually not good in most situations, but it is quick and decisive in emergencies. So like if someone's gonna get hurt, then you kind of have to like aggressively pull them away from getting hurt, and or like yell at them to stop getting hurt or something like that. That would be kind of an example of the competing or dominant style of conflict management. And it's aggressive. So if it's not like a dangerous situation, or the situation doesn't need a quick and decisive outcome, this technique can easily hurt relationships because it's so aggressive. So it probably shouldn't be used in most situations. And then you talked about compromising, which is meeting the middle ground where both sides give up something. But it is quite fair and practical when time is short, or and but the only problem is that it doesn't really solve all issues because both sides are losing something, so it's not like they're getting everything they want. That's more of like collaborating, as you talked about later. So compromising works for situations where there's not a lot of time and they need to make a decision, so both parties lose something. But at least they achieve middle ground, hopefully. Then you talked about accommodating style, which means putting others' needs before your own, and it maintains goodness, but it can also lead to resentment or being overlooked. And it's good sometimes. It's kind of like compromising, but it's also not good sometimes because maybe one person might always be accommodating for the other, and that's not good, right? And that wouldn't be a healthy relationship. So of course the main goal is to have a healthy relationship. Then you talked about avoiding, which means ignoring or withdrawing from conflict where it helps cool down strong emotions, and problems usually stay unresolved in avoiding because like you're avoiding the situation. So how are you going to resolve it, right? So that's one drawback. But it can help in situations where it's like kind of a toxic relationship and the people don't want to be together, like in a relationship. So avoiding would probably be the best strategy in that case, unless two people's or two parties' conflict management strategies differ. Like if one is avoiding and one is trying to like be collaborative, that wouldn't work. But if they're both wanting to avoid, then that would work. So yeah, and then you talked about collaborating, and collaborating is pretty good, especially for long-term approaches. Just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and cooperation from the people involved in the conflict. Um, but collaborating is usually the best method to make sure everyone's needs are met. And you also said that at the end that it's important to know which conflict style is important because strengthening the relationship is the goal after all. So I think that part was really resonates with what I think as well. Strengthening the relationship is the main goal. So it's important to know which communication style to use always. So yeah, thank you for your response. Bye.